Hi everyone. Okay, we made it to June. This is for the Numerology and Astrology for June 1st, 2020. If you add all those numbers together, you get an 11. If you add the 1 and the 1 together, you get the number 2. Now, like I've said many times before, sometimes I leave the 11 as the 11 because the day astrologically and energetically feels more transformative and uplifting and helping people think outside of the box. And then there's today, where it feels like we collapse into the 1 plus the 1, which equals a 2. Which is about negative mind and critical mind and blame and shame and guilt and denial and avoidance and projection and all these other things. So today it might be hard to stay positive. And, the number 2 day is about that negativity and looking at the negativity and blatantly being honest about that negativity. And opinions are going to be strongly expressed because in a 2 day, the mind is in control and minds want to find an answer as to what is happening to establish blame. And blame is often distributed randomly, but historically, it is rarely justified or correct. History records people being lynched, blamed, hung, imprisoned, and killed over someone's opinion, and a mob mentality that needs to feel completion and vindication over some horrific act. The problem is that so much horror is happening, there is a lot of blame that wants to be spread around. For me, this moment just needs to catalyze change. I have no need to blame anyone. I do know that enough is enough and not massive amounts of change massive amounts of change need to happen. This world that has been created is nothing that I want or will condone. And I will put all my effort into bringing more awareness and perspective and overview into these situations. I know that this world viewpoint at the moment is highly destructive and it will only continue to destroy our civilization rather than build it up. I know that the minds of the number 2 cannot be trusted, nor will the slants of so much anger and hate manifest a clear direction that is inclusive. I long for a powerful voice that promotes conscience from a deeper voice of the freedoms that are America. Okay. At least you can't say that I didn't warn you. Somebody Facebook messaged me and they said, oh, remember this article that you wrote on May 30th, 2017? And honestly, I hadn't. And I read the article and I basically described in almost scary detail what's happening exactly right now in 2020. It was actually an astrological article about the buildup between October of 2017 through 2020. And there are places, honestly, what happened was when I reread my article, I actually got scared. I scared myself because really I don't want to be right. I mean, I really, really, really don't want to be right. And, but I have felt certain things happening that I know what happens when that type of energy is happening. And it culminates in aggression and violence and lashing out. And my concern is that we have only just begun this. And I pray that nothing else happens to ignite something again, because if it ignites again, oh boy. Okay, so we're in June. Remember I told you June and July, this is where all these eclipses are, and this is where it gets really wild and crazy. Okay, the sun is in the duality world of Gemini. Gemini is considered the trickster. It's considered the two-faced god. And so much is retrograde within Gemini that is complicated, and notice all the two-facedness in this world. The Pluto retrograde brings out the karmic control and global brutality that shines a very bright light on it. The Venus retrograde makes everyone see clearly the financial distresses and the whittling away of our financial freedoms, retirement security, and our personal values. Saturn retrograde makes you realize the harsh world in which we now live, and this makes us have to come to grips with the totalitarian control that our government is attempting to sneakily use to manipulate our compliance. Because Venus moves quickly, it will sort of set the tempo for this change. And we have a ruler that is a Gemini whose birthday is coming up, which is known as the two-faced god and the trickster, and his racist dystopia is a toxicity that is killing freedom. Venus represents the money and the security we desperately need to survive and be in this game of life. Notice how you are being consciously tricked into giving up your desperately needed money and made to feel guilty if you do not suffer more for your country. The United States can't breathe anymore, which is why this particular event and this unbelievably brave, sad man said, I can't breathe. And it's like, I think that's why it ignited everything. I don't think anybody can breathe. I think everybody's been holding their breath or not breathing for a long time. And so our country can't breathe anymore because of all the lies and the negativity choking a system into a free fall. If a serious correction is not begun somewhere right here, then I fear what will happen for the rest of the year, and especially as we get closer to the election. The moon in Libra continues to point out the critical imbalances happening in this world. Jupiter quintile with Chiron early in the day will give us an incentive to get a grip on this horrific new reality. This will also occur in November, and it makes me really nervous for the election because, I mean, look at this one. Like, look at this one right now. And then we're going to have an election with all the intensity around that. Perhaps this is what we need in order to open some hearts and minds to the struggles and sufferings of others. I really wish it were not so, but that seems to be the case. The Sun-Jupiter aspect makes us demand more from our lives right now. For some, that will lead to reactive actions, some good and constructive, and some bad and dangerous. Okay, my quote for today. I watch our country burn to the ground. I hear the screams as the anger sounds. I know why they feel the need to scream. No one hears them when others are mean. We live in a country that promised a lie. Then when we demand it, all they do is deny. I will stand up for those in pain. I will confront those that have the most to gain. I will not be quiet or go away as long as I can breathe and have an airway. I will stand against hate. I will stand against lies. I will speak out against all evil in disguise. You cannot fool me. Hate is still hate. Until that stops, this chaos will not abate. Okay, my blog for today. We are in uncharted time and space, where all that once was is no more. It is a terrifying feeling to realize that the illusion of control and civility is lost at this moment in time. I know that many are behaving and trying to do peaceful intervention. And I know that there are a few that are so angry from so much being taken from them for decades that they are at a breaking point. I realize that sometimes there has to be a resounding call against the oppressors. I know that dysfunction has to be called out. I know that rage builds up and leaves no room for discussion. You can only oppress with fear for so long, and then the people will always rise up and exact revenge against those who have harmed them. Be very aware of your actions, words, and choices right now. Recognize that if you are Caucasian, you cannot really understand the level of constant suffering and oppression that people of another color, another culture, or another religion have actually felt and been through for decades or hundreds of years. If you have the power to help, conscious souls are obligated to help in such moments. Avoidance of your responsibility now is inhumane, cruel, and supports continued suffering. So, I pray for sanity. I pray for change. I pray for people not accepting just it getting a little bit better and then going back to their old way and shutting up and being quiet. I mean, at this point, I think we need radical change. I mean, we need radical change. We need radical choices and laws, and we need to get rid of people that are actively going against our own constitution. We have got to get rid of these people. And we've got to take our country back. Okay? Stay safe.